Happy Thursday, guys. What's up? Welcome into another episode of the Daily Juice Podcast with me, Matt Perrault, at Sports Talk Matt, my handle across all socials. And this podcast being brought to you by OmahaSteaks.com and the semi-annual sale going on right now at OmahaSteaks.com. Use that code JUICE, 50% off site-wide at OmahaSteaks.com. Great stuff they got going on right now. Go check out all the unbelievable packages and deals and everything else you got going on at OmahaSteaks.com. Okay, so this is going to be a little bit of a longer podcast. I got a bunch of picks in place I want to give you guys. It's a Thursday, so we went light yesterday, went light kind of the day before, although there were 3 bets yesterday, 1 and 2 yesterday, so we were down 1.1 units. So a winning day, losing day, winning day, losing day. So that would be Thursday. Hopefully that means we're going to have a winning day here today. But I've got a college football bet for Saturday I want to give you now because I think the number is going to move, and I'm concerned about that. I've got a bet on the NFL game tonight. I've got 2 prop bets. I've got a bet on the college game tonight, and I've got I can't leave a half a unit behind baseball bet. Small half unit play on baseball just to round it out and keep it all, somewhat even with our plays coming in here for how many units we're going to have in play here today. We'll have just a little over 3.3 or something like that units in play, and then a bet on Saturday as well, our first play for Saturday that I want to give you guys here right now. There's been a bunch of questions, before I give you the picks, there's been a bunch of questions about the leaderboard for Splash Sports. I can't see it because I am in a state that Splash Sports is not legal. So one of you has been very nice, and they've been sending me DMs every week of the leaderboard. So I'm seeing what they're seeing. I know some of you guys are not. Just check and see if there's a setting or there's a button to push to get all the leaders. I believe the leaders have, I think there's 7 or so of you guys who have gone 12 and 2 so far in the 14 games. So I'll do my best to kind of get some research done on that as to what's going on or what I need to tell you guys, but poke around on the site if you're involved in the contest. Poke around as we go into week 3 here, starting tonight for the NFL, for the NFL Daily Juice pick contests with Splash Sports and BettingPros. All right, let's talk about the Irish hosting Ohio State. Now, in the preseason, I told you about Alabama, and I told you how I believe that Alabama had a quarterback problem. And I thought that Jalen Milroe was going to be a problem, and he has been. Now, the backups aren't any good. Alabama's going to have their hands full with Ole Miss coming up this weekend. I haven't decided exactly what I'm going to bet yet on that game, if I'm taking the over, which is a possibility, or I'm taking the dog, which is a possibility on this. Maybe even outright Ole Miss. We'll see. But I've been right with Alabama. The other couple of quarterbacks, there were a bunch of them, but one of which was what's going on with Ohio State. And I just do not think Ohio State, much like Alabama, and look, it's hard to sit there and go, you're supposed to just replace a quarterback like C.J. Stroud. You just don't. Now, Alabama's had a crazy run, right? Going from, guys with Tua and Mac Jones. And look at the starting quarterbacks, Jalen Hurts, that played in succession at Alabama. It was supposed to be Drake May at Alabama. That's the guy that was supposed to be the next in line to keep this train rolling. He stayed home at North Carolina, and thus here we are with Alabama stuck right now without a quarterback. Ohio State's in a little bit of a different spot, but not really, because the offense hasn't looked great. The only road game so far for Ohio State was at Indiana. They were laying 30. They won by 20. I just look at this Ohio State offense, and I love Marvin Harrison Jr. Okay, this guy is a surefire, unbelievable player on the next level. He's going to be awesome. But there's something just not right with this offense. They don't run the ball the way you're used to seeing Ohio State run the football. They don't throw the ball as well as they could. Now, Kyle McCord is coming around, and maybe you go, Matt, this is the breakout game for Kyle McCord. But at Notre Dame, I don't know. I think this is a lot to ask of Ohio State. And I think Notre Dame, this is exactly what they've been waiting for. They didn't look great last week. They didn't need to against Central Michigan. That was a complete overlook. They're staring at Ohio State. They know who is coming to South Bend. But through 3 games, TreVeyon Henderson's a good running back, but he's got, 191 yards. 4 touchdowns, that's fine. 6.4 yards per average carry is pretty good, but It's not like he's popping. It's not like when you watch Ohio State, you're like, dang, they can run the ball on anyone. The Irish, what do the Irish do? They play defense. I mean, that's what they do. This is a night game in South Bend, and I just think this Irish offense with Sam Hartman is so different than what we have seen. Sam Hartman's thrown for over 1,000 yards already. They've run the ball pretty well. I mean, they've got three decent running backs they can roll with, and the offensive line for the Irish can maul people. The receiving core is good enough. I'm not saying it's outstanding, but it's good enough when you have a quarterback like Sam Hartman. He's going to spread the football around. I mean, he's completing 71% of his passes. I mean, I don't want this to go. If you get 3.5, I'm totally jealous, and it's a great bet at plus 3.5. But the number's been coming down, and I don't want this to go below 3, and I think it's going to go below 3. I think the pros are just sitting and waiting for the limits to open up, and I think they're coming in on the Irish. I think this number is going to close lower. I think this number could be 2.5 or 2. I mean, I just think there's going to be money coming in here on Notre Dame, and I know you might go, though, well, that's just the rich alumni, Matt. Okay, I mean, everyone's saying that Ohio State might be laying in the weeds, and look out for Ohio State. This is when they announce their presence. Look, Ryan Day is a very good coach, but I don't like the quarterback situation. I don't like Kyle McCord. It's not that I don't like him. I don't think he's as good as other quarterbacks we've seen for Ohio State in recent memory, i.e. last year with C.J. Stroud. 23 points against Indiana, 35 points against Youngstown State. Okay, they held Western Kentucky down to 10 points, okay? Their defense played well, but I don't need the Irish. Their offense doesn't need to score all that much. If their defense plays the way I think it's capable of playing, this is not a high-scoring game. I lean towards the under in this game. I think there's a real possibility we see a low-scoring, battle-it-out type of game. But in those situations, I'll take the home team. And I think there's something really to be said. I mean, under 55.5 is not a bad bet at all. I think both defenses will rise up. But I'm just not into this Ohio State, look out, here comes the Buckeye thing. I'm fading them. I'm fading Alabama. In some ways, I'm fading Georgia. I don't really like Beck. I just think there's a void right now. All the good quarterbacks, the great ones in college football, are playing in the Pac-12. You know, Michael Penix Jr. at Washington. Obviously, you've got Caleb Williams at USC. Just go up and down. Look at the quarterback play. Look at Bo Nix at Oregon. I mean, these are where the best quarterbacks are playing right now in the Pac-12. I mean, even, Shedeur Sanders, until they move to the Big 12, still a Pac-12 quarterback. Okay? So, +3. Irish on Saturday, +3. 1.1 units down on Notre Dame hosting the Ohio State Buckeyes. Home dog Irish at +3. Sprinkle money line. Really do. I think there's a real good shot the Irish win the game outright. Okay, that's this weekend. Let's talk about tonight. College football. Coastal Carolina and Grayson McCall. Man, this kid's still in school. It's unbelievable. Still in school. In this series with Grayson McCall as the quarterback of Coastal, he's played 3 times in this game, against Georgia State. 4th time is tonight. In the 3 previous games, the offense for Coastal has scored 51, 40, and 41 points. It's pretty darn good. The last 2 games combined for 65 and 82 points between these 2 teams. Last week, McCall and the offense put up 66 points themselves. I can't wait to watch this game. Now, the NFL game is going to be great, but I think when we're talking about Coastal Carolina and we're talking about their offense and we're talking about what they're capable of doing, we're talking about points here, okay? And I think we're going to see points. I know Georgia State's defense has been pretty good, okay? Only 19.5 points per game, but 7.4 yards per pass play is a little on the high side, and I think Coastal is going to want to throw the ball a lot here tonight. Georgia State also is very good at turning the football over, but the Panthers are really good on the road. I saw this stat on covers.com, and that's a great site, but they have this stat that the Panthers are 11-0 ATS in their last 11 road games versus a team with a winning home record, which is what Coastal is. So it's a little specific, but I think if you look at the way both these teams play and how they play against each other, Georgia State is 2-1 to the over this year. They've scored 41, 35, and 42 points each. The total in this game is 62. It was 61.5. It's ticked up just a little bit. The road team has won all 6 of the last 6 meetings. So that would be looking at Georgia State potentially to go in there. A couple of years ago, maybe even last year, I bet Coastal to beat Georgia State, and Coastal didn't get it done. I think it's very possible that Georgia State wins the game outright here. But given Georgia State's offense, given that Coastal's defense can be scored upon, and you can see, points being put up on Coastal Carolina, I'm going to play the over 62 here, okay? I know Coastal's first 2 games against UCLA, 27-13. They went under by 27 points, only scored 13 points, but I was on the road against a Pac-12 school. Jacksonville State, they scored 30, only gave up 16. The game went under by 15.5 points. Last week against Duquesne, they scored 66, and it went over by 17 points. Against Rhode Island, Georgia State went over 42-35. Against Connecticut at home, 35-14. They won that game. Game went under. Amazingly enough, they held Connecticut to 14 points. And then they took on Charlotte on the road last week, scored 41, 41-25. I think there's a shot that this game looks a little bit like what happened a couple of years ago, which was a 42-40 final. Whoever has the ball last, up and down type of crazy game at Coastal. 62. I'm going to play the over. Georgia State and Coastal Carolina tonight, 1.1 units down on the over 62 for Georgia State and Coastal Carolina. Okay, to the NFL game we go. Look, I don't think I need to break this down all that much. I'm same game teasing this, okay? Find a book. DraftKings lets you do it at minus 120. Find a book that lets you do it at minus 120 because take the 10, tease it down to 4, take the total from 44 and tease it down to 38 and go over. All right? 6-point teaser. Do the Niners cover 10? Yes, I think they do. Do we go over 38? Yes, I think we do. I think the Niners could score 35 points themselves. Okay? I think they'll score a lot here on this defense for the Giants. You can just lay 10 if you want, okay? But I think 10 points on a Thursday night football game just scares the holy heck out of me. If they win by 7 or some Herculean effort happens by the Giants and they're in the game, I think we're going over. If both teams are scoring, we saw a 17-17 score at halftime last week for the 49ers. And I know it's on the road. It was against the Rams. That building was mostly red. But, if we have something like that, if we get 17 points out of the Giants tonight, we're going over 38 points. Okay, we just are because we're going to get 21 plus out of the Niners, and I need a 4-point victory for the Niners. I think they're going to win the game by at least 7 points, and I would hate to have it fall 10. They win by 10, 30-20, or even 27-17, and then we're sitting there and we're like, man alive, it was a push. And if you same game teased it, drop it down to 4, took the total down to 38 and went over, we covered, okay? So that's where I'm going here with this, all right? Total's 44. There has been some movement to the under on this, and I get it because it's saying the Giants can't score, but I think they'll score a little bit, even in crunch time. I mean, it could be 35-7, and then we see a couple of garbage touchdowns late for the Giants to make it look pretty when the game never really is in doubt. No Saquon Barkley. I think it's going to be a really tough task here for the Giants. I'm going to go same game teaser, minus 120, Niners minus 4, over 38 for 1.2 units here tonight. Now, we're not done. 2 prop bets. So no Saquon Barkley, right? So what are you going to do if you're the Giants? Well, the best running back for the Giants is the quarterback. That's Daniel Jones. And the offensive line isn't very good. So to me, who's your best running back? Daniel Jones. Who's going to be running for his life? Daniel Jones. I mean, Matt Breida is the backup running back here. Gary Brightwell is the backup running backs here. Best back is Daniel Jones. DraftKings has his over 7.5 rushing attempts at plus 114. Now, I know 7.5 is a lot for a quarterback, but I just don't know who's going to run the football. He had 9 carries in week 2. He had 13 carries in week 1. I mean, it's set at 7.5. I don't fully understand the number, to be quite honest. over 7.5 rushes attempts at plus 114. Daniel Jones, I'm taking the plus money. These are quarter unit plays. Plus 114, quarter unit on Daniel Jones over 7.5 rushing attempts. Other bet, Deebo Samuel for the 49ers. Look, you can take your pick. Everyone's taking McCaffrey on this over receiving yards for Christian McCaffrey. I like Deebo Samuel. I think Deebo Samuel's going to have a really big night. I think they're going to give him the ball, screen passes, slants, do the things that they have done so far this year with Deebo, the all-everything back, the all-everything running back / wide receiver, the X factor. Deebo Samuel so far this year has 6 catches for 63 yards and 5 catches for 55 yards. This total is 53.5 at DraftKings, juiced to the over at minus 125. He's gone over this number in his first 2 games receiving. Rushing, he's gone 38-8 so far. I like the receiving more. Deebo Samuel over 53.5 yards receiving at minus 125. So a little plus money on the Daniel Jones, laying a little juice for minus 125. Both those bets are to win a quarter unit, coming back here for that. So what does that mean? We have a half unit hanging out doing nothing. What do we do with it? Well, I am going to go to baseball, and I'm going to go to the Pirates and the Cubs at Wrigley Field. So the first matchup was 14-1. The second game was 13-7. Here we are with the rubber match between these two teams here tonight, 7 o'clock Eastern time. Oviedo against Kyle Hendricks. These teams just really are scoring heavily against each other. Now, the record for the Cubs is 10-2. Their second loss so far was last night. This is the last game. You want to take the Cubs to win this game? That's fine. It's a little bit expensive. It's minus 165. I don't really want to do that because I have an even money bet at over 8.5. Last 2 games have gone over. We're going to go over with the Cubs and the Pirates. Hendricks hasn't been great. Oviedo has been pretty good, but both teams' bullpens are just awful. So hopefully we get into the bullpens early with these teams. The last 2 games for Kyle Hendricks, the final score was 7-6, 5-2, 11-8. Okay? So 2 of the last 3 games would have gone over 8.5. 5-2 fell just a little bit short of that, obviously with 7, but 2-1 if the total was 8.5 for Kyle Hendricks games. Mostly that's due to, obviously, the bullpen. Oviedo on the year is 8-14 with a 4.27 ERA, 7.5, 8.4, 6.4. The last 3 games with him, he hasn't gone further than the 5th inning over any of those games. On the road, 8.4, 6.4. That's 12-10, over 8.5. These teams, last 2 games have gone over. Half a unit, even money, over 8.5 on Oviedo. FanDuel had this tonight, even money on Cubs, Pirates, over 8.5 for a half a unit. Okay? That's a lot. That's a lot for a Thursday. But to recap, first bet for Saturday, Notre Dame plus 3, 1.1 units at home against Ohio State. Irish plus 3. Tonight, over 62, Coastal Carolina hosting Georgia Southern. Bet number 3, same game teaser, teasing Giants down to 4, total down to 38, taking over for 1.2 units. Daniel Jones, over 7.5 rushing attempts. That is a plus 114 bet. Deebo Samuel, over 53.5 receiving yards at minus 125. And then over 8.5 even money on the Pirates and the Cubs here tonight. Let's have a big Thursday. Let's get off the schneid here. We're pretty much flat for the week. Let's get ourselves into the black here, heading towards the weekend with Friday, Saturday, and Sunday on the Discord channel, bettingpros.com/chat. I'll be hanging out watching both the college and the pro game with you guys coming up here tonight on a Thursday. Look to see you guys in the chat. Let's see if there are any live betting opportunities or for some fun stuff to jump in with here. My name is Matt Perrault. You guys can follow me on socials at Sports Talk Matt. Sorry, that was my watch. At Sports Talk Matt. Every single morning, it is the Daily Juice Podcast, always being brought to you by OmahaSteaks.com.